Hello! Ooh, that's loud, isn't it? Kenny, it's good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Al Santos. I come from the Arawak Aztec peoples, and we have a performance group, worldwide performance group, called the Central Plains Dancers. And this group is accompanied by a world-class drum group, Native American music drum group. And we perform Plains-style dances and songs. The name of the drum group is Otter Trail. They're Grammy nominated. We have about 11 albums on the market, and we're soon going to be featured in the Disney Marvel movie called Echo, which comes out in January, so be looking for it. We're also in several different movies, films, documentaries, series, etc. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to showcase some of those songs of the northern, southern plains. And at the very end, we're going to ask some of you to come up on stage and dance with us. So please don't be shy, because we don't bite. What we're going to do first is called a grand entry. Now, even the rodeo circuit has a grand entry or a parade in or a processional. This is where all the dancers enter the stage in their respective tribal clothes, and they dance and showcase their respective styles. Styles that we're going to, later on in the program, as the program goes on, explain to you so that you'll have a better understanding of what they're wearing and the style that they're dancing. So without further ado, this is the grand entry song, and we are the Central Plains Dancers. Feel free to clap. Big round of applause for our dancers. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to introduce you first to the players, and then after that, I'm going to pass the microphone on to the individual that's going to explain each and every dance style. All the way to the left there, that's Holly Sue Gray. She's Ponca and Tonkawa. Right next to her is the individual that's going to do all the explanation of the dances. My brother, he's Kiowa, he's Cheyenne, and he's Cecil Gray. They're two beautiful children. Come on out here. That's Talo and Glory. And then next to them, to their right, is my son, Bryson Sanchez. He is from the Dakota and San Felipe Pueblo. And to his right is the most beautiful woman in the world. Did I get that right, Mama? All right. That's my beautiful wife. She's Hopi and Navajo, and she's Nicole Pavatia Santos. On the drum, we have, on the left side, Nico Pena. He is from Austin, Texas, and he was going to wear Texas A&M colors, but I told him not to. Next to him, you all know him, Max Yamane, my son there. And without our lady singers, well, we just wouldn't sound as good. To the left, we have from the great Navajo Nation, Dene. That's my sister there, Nijoni Sky. And our daughter, she is Seneca Ponca, and her name is Nadia Balderas. Without further ado, oh, my name's Al Santos, if I hadn't said that earlier. Without further ado, Mr. Cecil Gray.
All right, thank you, Al. Thank you, audience, for being here this evening. We know that you guys could be in a lot of different places tonight, but you chose to come here and learn a little bit more about our Native American culture. It's just an honor for us to be able to share the knowledge that we have, because a lot of our traditions are passed down orally from one generation to the next. And so if we're not able to teach this to our next generation, then that's where our culture, our language, our way of life, it gets lost over time. And so it's important for us to be able to be here to share this. This is something that we enjoy doing. So we hope to not only educate you, but also entertain you on this fine fall evening here at the University of Oklahoma. And so we're going to showcase various dance styles that you might see at any given powwow here in Oklahoma. Because in Oklahoma, we have 39 tribes that call Oklahoma home. And each one of these tribes will generally have an annual celebration or a powwow, a contest powwow. And at these powwows, they'll have competition dancing between the various age groups from tiny tots to junior to teen to adults to our golden age division. But they also have categories that are broke up in those age groups. And there's generally 4 men categories and 4 women categories. And so we're just kind of give you just a little bit of a taste of what you might see at any given powwow here in Oklahoma. And so we are going to start off with our women's jingle, women's cloth. Women's cloth. You can make your way out here to the center of the arena. This individual here, like Al had mentioned, her name is Holly Sue Gray. And Holly is Ponca, and she's Tonkawa. And she is extremely lucky because she landed the biggest catch by marrying me. And so I always like to tease her about that, but this is, my beautiful wife, and I'm very, very, very beyond words can even describe how proud I am of her. It is October, and as you guys know, October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so, one thing I always like to bring up is that my wife, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she completed all the treatments. It was an aggressive form. She had to do radiation, chemotherapy, reconstructive surgery. She's still going through that a little bit, but she stands before you today cancer-free. And so we're very, very proud. Very proud of all it's taken for her will to even be here, to be here for me and my children. And, she lost all her hair, but as you can see, this is how far her hair's grown back to where she actually has her braids again. And so, it's just always an honor to just be able to just cherish her life and have her with us. But in addition to that, she's also a very accomplished model. She models all over the United States. As a matter of fact, she was supposed to model up in Tulsa this weekend for an indigenous fashion show, but she chose to be here, for you fine people to be able to showcase her dance style. She's also an actress. She's been in a movie called Fancy Dance that will be released sometime this year. And so she plays one of the characters in there. And it's kind of weird seeing your wife on the screen because you see them as that character and not as the person you see them every day. And so that's a unique experience that I got to experience as well. In addition to that, she just has all these accolades and being an accomplished actress model. She also is very educated. She has 3 degrees. And then most recently, she graduated right here at the University of Oklahoma. Matter of fact, right here on this very same stage, This past May, she got her bachelor's degree in organizational leadership. And so, like I said, I'm very, very, very proud of her. That's just to mention just a few of her successes. But her dance style represents, like I mentioned, modern day Native women on what they go through in life. This dance style represents that Southern Plains woman of long ago. This dance style showcases their ability to be calm, to be poised, to be graceful, while taking care of their families like they did long ago. They had that role within their camp to take care of the sick. They prepared the food. They prepared the clothing. You know, back then, on the plains, you know, we didn't have sewing machines, so they had to make the clothing from hand. And we didn't waste any product of an animal. You know, if we took an animal for our people, you know, we used its meat, of course, for nourishment, you know, to feed our families. You know, we used the bones, made tools out of them. We used the hide, you know, for clothing. We used every single part of that animal. And so these women, like I said, they had that role to do that for their families, to do that within their camps. And grace, dignity is what I see from that. And that's what this dance style represents. Long ago, they had buckskin dresses. You know, even today, we still have buckskin dresses. But as time went on, European contact came about, and they brought new materials from overseas, cottons, polyesters. Nowadays, you can get Asian brocade and fabrics from all over the world are available to us now. But at one point, the United States government attempted to assimilate us into the mainstream American culture. And they put us on these reservations. You know, some here in Oklahoma, they gave us rations, food that we have to live on. Instead of living off the land, we had to live in this one area. And we had to depend on the government for food and nourishment, for clothing. They gave the natives at the time this cotton material, these fabrics, and told them, you have to make your dresses, your clothing, like our American-style clothing that we have, you know, at the time. But the women, being very innovative, they took that clothing, and instead of making American-style dresses, they incorporated into our culture. And it's evolved to what you see before you today. Just by looking at her regalia, you can see that she is a Ponca woman. Ponca women have two separate blouse and skirts. And just by looking at it, the trained eye can see that she is a Ponca woman. Just on her back, you know, Ponca women, if you look at it, she has a little sailor flag there. And the Poncas, you know, really honor, you know, the sailors and how they were able to bring, you know, that warrior mentality to their people. And so the Ponca women are the only ones that will carry that flap that they wear on their back. So if you're ever at a powwow and you see this, various colors, doesn't matter the color, but you'll know that that woman right there is a Ponca woman. Also, her plume that she has in her hair, if you notice, it's on the left side of her head. Just by looking at that plume, that's an eagle plume. If you're not married, you wear it on the right side. If you are married, you wear it on the left side. So just these little subtle differences, there's a lot that you can tell. But this dance style represents, like I said, that Southern Plains woman, grace, dignity. Some say that this dance style is sometimes called poetry in motion because of the beauty that this dance style signifies. So I'm going to let Holly showcase this dance style, which is known as our women's Southern cloth, Southern traditional dance style.
Hey!
Holly Sue Gray with our women's Southern cloth, Southern traditional. And so at this time, we're going to invite our women's jingle out here to the dance arena. And so we are honored to be able to share this particular dance style. There's like I mentioned before, everything's passed down orally, traditionally, from our native communities from one generation to the next. And so a lot of our stories may differ just slightly from one region to another depending on who's telling it. But in the end, the overall picture of these particular stories, they all pretty much have the same meaning. And so one of the stories that I really enjoy in this particular dance style comes from a young girl. Her name was Maggie White, and this comes from the Ojibwe tribe, the Ojibwe Nation up into Canada, Minnesota, Wisconsin. This is a very sacred dance to our Ojibwes. It's a healing dance, a healing dress, and so they have their own ceremonial dances that they do with just this dance style. But it comes from the young Ojibwe girl, Maggie White, that got sick, back in the early 1900s. And she caught what's called rheumatic fever. And back then, there was no cure for this illness. And so this little girl was going to pass away. But just like any other father, like any of us, we love our children more than anything. And as in the people, we always go to God, we go to the Creator, and we always, ask Him to answer our prayers. And so sometimes we'll go off, on a journey, spiritual journey, as you could say, and just pray with everything that you have and ask God to answer your prayers. Well, that's what her father did. He went off on a journey because he did not want to lose his daughter. And he prayed as hard as he could. He fasted. Sometimes they'll go days without food or without water, just letting God know that their prayers are sincere from their heart. And so he went off for several days, was fasting and praying, and he just gave everything that he had, asking God to save his daughter. And as he was off on his journey, he got exhausted. And one day as he was praying, he fell asleep. And when he slept, he began to dream. And God came to him in his dream. And he told him, I want you to go and collect these shells, 365 of them in this stream, not too far from here. You can kind of hear that water in that stream not too far. And he said, collect 365 shells. And I'm going to teach you these songs. I want you to go back to your people, your camp, and teach your people these songs. Get those shells and make a dress, and put those shells on a dress. And put that dress on your daughter. And sing these songs for her, and have her dance. And your daughter will be healed. Those 365 shells are going to represent each day of the calendar year that your daughter is going to be healthy. And so her father, remembering every detail God told him when he awoke, he went and collected those shells from the stream. He went back to camp. He told the people about what he experienced in his dream and what God told him to do. He taught his people those songs. They made that dress for young Maggie White. They sewed those shells on that dress. And they sang for her, and she went out there and danced. And miraculously, young Maggie White was healed. Believe it or not, this is a story from the Ojibwes, and a lot of people believe that these stories, native stories, are folklore tales. But this particular story, I can tell you is true because Maggie White actually lived a long and healthy life, I believe, well into her 80s. And she just recently passed away, I'd say less than 20 years ago. And so, to the Ojibwes, this story is what it is, and that's why they have their ceremonies. That's why it's so important to them. But over time, it's caught the attraction of the powwow world, and other tribes have begun to dance this dance style. And now, in 2023, it's one of our most popular dance styles for our young women. And so you'll notice as these jingle dress dancers dance, that they wear Copenhagen lids that are rolled into cones to look like those shells that they used long ago. But it kind of has that water sound, that water effect, like that stream that he pulled those shells from. And at some point while they dance, you'll notice they'll put their hand up in the air. Maybe sometimes they'll have an eagle fan, but they'll put that up in the air. and some say that that signifies the moment that Maggie White was healed. And so, without further ado, I'm going to let Nicole Pavatia showcase this dance style for you, which is known as our women's jingle dress. All right, beautiful dancing by Miss Nicole Pavatia. They say this dance style, even just being and being able to witness it, they say sometimes even if you're feeling a little bit bad yourself, maybe a little bit under the weather, maybe you might be feeling a little bit gloomy or down, but just by witnessing and being in the presence of this dance style, sometimes it can even help you feel just a little bit better yourself, even in today's modern times. And so, I would like to, share a little bit about our drum here. This drum here, what it represents is the heartbeat of our Indian people. And so there are a lot of misconceptions about our drum here and what goes about it. Even some of the songs, the drum beats, there's stereotypes out there. But at one point, this drum, it's a hide, and at one point it was a living animal. And so we try to take care of our drums. And some tribes, they even call it grandpa, because they want you to take care of it like it was your own grandpa. You don't leave it in the car, you don't leave it unattended, and those kind of things. But there's a misconception that Hollywood kind of brought about, and so I know everybody has probably seen those old spaghetti westerns, those old black and white western movies where the cowboys are gunfighting, and you hear Indians. There's one, a noise that you hear, which symbolizes natives for whatever reason, but it's this. I know you guys have all heard that before, right? That is a stereotype, and we have no idea where that comes from. There's one theory, though, is that comes from our women. Our women, when they're expressing themselves and they are excited, so excited that they can't contain themselves anymore, they'll do what's called a lulu, and it's an expression for a woman. But it's a beautiful sound because a woman is expressing themselves, and it never made sense to me until I was going to school. I had just graduated college, and it was when my grandma was still living, and they had an honor dance for me. And while I was dancing, my grandma, she was just expressing herself, telling how proud of me she was, and she goes, I just can't. I don't know what to do. I just feel so much proud proudness that I have for you. I'm just so excited. And she's like, I could just see her building up. Like she just didn't know how to express herself. And she let out the most beautiful Lulu that I had ever heard. And it was just an expression, of my grandma for me. And so that's when it made sense. That's when it clicked for me. Because that's what it's intended for. And so a lot of times if you're ever at a dance or a powwow and you hear a woman, Lulu, it's because she's expressing herself, her gratitude, her excitement. And so I'm going to kind of put my, do we have any good Luluers up here? All right, Nadia. Nadia has volunteered herself. So I'm going to let her Lulu for you so that you can kind of hear what an actual Lulu sounds like. Oh, thank you. So when you hear that, you kind of understand where that theory might come from. When somebody that's non-native goes, you can kind of get where what they probably heard at one point or another. But to me, when I see that, it's always a man that's doing that, I don't know if they're trying to make fun of or they're trying to honor or whatever they're trying to do, but that's not correct. That's actually, a woman is the only one that should be doing that. And so just some stereotypes, that we like to clear up, when we have the opportunity like this. The other one is the drum. Going back to those old spaghetti westerns, those old western movies, you guys hear that famous drum beat they have in those movies. I know you guys have all heard it. It kind of sounds like this. You guys all heard that, right? What does that mean? We don't know. I guess that means the Indians are coming. They're surrounding the wagons or whatever Hollywood made that drum beat. We don't know what it means. But if you understand, again, that this drum beat is the heartbeat of Indian people, if you notice when we're singing, when they first started singing, it's a soft beat, just like your heart. And as you go further into the song, that beat gets harder and harder. And when it comes to the end of the song, it's beating pretty hard and pretty fast. And we also have beats like that sound, they're called round dance. Some even call them love songs. But it's got a particular beat, a sound to it. And the round dance sounds like this. Okay, so that sounds just like your heart, right? So if you know what this drum represents and how it is the heartbeat of Indian people, then you understand the culture. So if you're ever sitting there and you're watching the OU game, you're watching OU beat Texas, you're watching OU beat OSU, you're watching OU win the Big 12 championship, you're watching OU win the national championship, if you're sitting there watching this, and if you ever hear your heart make this noise, you better call 911 because you're going into cardiac arrest. Because your heart is not supposed to sound like that. And again, those are just some stereotypes, some things that we like to bring to, common knowledge so everybody kind of understands, why some people might get offended by certain things. And so with that, we're going to go into our next dance style. We're going to go into our men's grass dance. Men's grass dance. This is my brother here, Mr. Bryson Sanchez, and he is a champion dancer within his own right. And this dance style has another wonderful story that goes along with it. It comes from up north. A lot of our songs comes from our northern tribes or southern tribes. And even the style, the way that these songs are sung, if you know, our southern songs will have a deeper tone. It's got a deep sound to it, and our drum is a southern drum. But our singers over here are so talented, they can also sing northern style, which is a high-pitched singing that comes from up north. And so this particular dance style is a northern dance category. And so it comes, they say, from the Mandan, Arikara, Hidatsa tribes up in that area, in that region. And it comes from this young boy. One of the stories is that he had a disability. This young boy, one of his legs was shorter than the other. And his parents kind of were protective of him. They didn't want him to hurt himself. One didn't want him to injure himself. So they didn't let him go out and play like the other little boys. They didn't let him go out there and dance like the other little boys. But this young man wanted to dance so bad. He had the desire in his heart so much. And he told his dad, I really want to dance. And so his dad told him, son, go off on a journey. spiritual journey by yourself and pray. Ask God to answer your prayers, and you'll get your answer. So this young man went off and went up into these hills, these mountains nearby, and he was still young yet, but he went off just a little ways where he could still see camp just a little bit because he didn't want to drift off too far away. But he prayed. They say he was up there on that little mountain for several days, and he prayed and prayed and prayed, and nothing came to mind. God never answered his prayers. He didn't hear anything. He didn't see anything. He didn't feel anything. And so after that third day, he got depressed, and so he started to get sad and thinking about, well, I guess God don't want me to dance. I didn't have my prayer answered. So he began to make his way back. And as he was coming down that mountain and coming down that hill, he got so sad he began to cry. He began to weep with sadness. And he remembered that his grandpa had told him that, grandson, if you ever get sad, one way to turn your mood around is by singing your favorite song. And so he remembered that. So he began to sing his favorite song. And he was just sitting there crying, and before too long he started humming a little bit louder and singing a little bit louder, and so he began to stand up. And then before too long, he was singing his favorite song from the top of his lungs. As he sang, that wind began to blow. And out there in the prairie, in the meadow down there, you could see that grass begin to dance, and it began to move, and it began to sway, almost like he was singing to it. And so he brushed it off. He felt much better. He went home, explained to his father what he experienced, and that, nothing came to mind. But, partway down, he got sad. He began to sing his favorite song. The wind started to blow extremely hard. It was making that grass blow. And he said, but God never answered my prayers. His father said, you know what, son? You missed it. God did answer your prayers. That grass moving in the wind like that, that's what he was trying to tell you. That's your dance style. So they went back to that area, and they got tufts of grass. They put it in his belt, put it over his shoulders, put it just above his knees, much like you see here today. They got yarn that replaced that grass. And that young man went out there, and he began to dance. And whatever he did on one leg, on one side, whatever move he did on one side, he did that exact same move on the other side. Because again, he had a disability. And he was trying to show everybody that his disability was not going to keep him from dancing, that he could do everything just like everybody else could. This dance style became also a society dance. And these young men, there'd be hundreds of them, had the responsibility of going off and finding new camping grounds, new hunting grounds, an area that was close to buffalo or elk or deer, things that they could bring back to provide nourishment for their family, had to be close to water. They would go off and they would pray, and they would find these grounds. Once they found these grounds, we didn't have lawnmowers. And so hundreds of these men would go off, and they would dance, and they would pray. They would bless these grounds. As they did, they would kind of flatten the grass on both sides and get that ground ready and prepared, bless it, pray on it for their people who were about to come. And so they had that very, very important role. And, like I said today, it's still a warrior society style of dance. But again, this also got very popular in our powwow world, and is one of our more prominent dance styles. There's always a bunch of young men that dance this dance style. And so everybody has their own expression, their own version of it. But we're going to let Bryson showcase this dance style for you, which is known as our men's grass dance. Bryson Sanchez with our men's grass band. Men's grass band, all right. How you guys enjoying the show so far? Good? Good. I'm glad you guys are. Again, we're thankful for you guys just to spend, an hour of your time this evening to learn a little bit more of our native culture. And so we have a specialty style of dance. But before I introduce this next dance style, I'd like to introduce our lead singer here. He is going to come and explain this dance style. This man is very dear to us. He has accepted us, as family, and so all of us are connected up here through him. And so he, like I said, he is a champion singer. He really needs no introduction if you're, in the powwow world. He is the lead singer of a world champion drum group called Otter Trail. He is also, very accomplished in many, many ways. He's composed many, many, many songs. He's been in his drum group. These men up here, they've been featured in a Marvel movie that will be coming out this coming year. Also, he created some songs for a movie called Fancy Dance that will also be released this year. He is also a professional wrestler. He has a alter ego, I guess you could say, Al Farrat. Look it up on YouTube. You can watch some of his wrestling matches. He's a promoter of wrestling. He does many, many, many different things. He's a collector of, I think, cigars. He is a cologne connoisseur and knows everything about colognes. But my favorite thing about him is that he collects boots, exotic boots. Any kind of boot you can think of, he has a different pair every time I see him. He's got elephant and wildebeest and shark and giraffe and any kind of exotic thing like that you can think of. He's got a pair. Every time I see him, he's got a different pair of boots on. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you world champion singer, Mr. Al Santos, to explain the next dance style for you.
Wow, what an intro. All right, at this time he's talked about a specialty dance. Now, if you go to different powwows across the country, each region is going to have their particular style of dance. Every tribe has their social dances. If you go up to the northwest coast, you'll see the potlatches, and they have their style of kwakiutl and different tribal dances, slinglet. Well, every region has their own style. The American Southwest, they have the Pueblo dances, the Navajo dances. If you go to the Southeast, they'll have stomp dances, the Muskogee people. Well, way up there in the northeast coast, there's a group of people called the Iroquois, part of the Iroquois Confederacy, also known as the Haudenosaunee, or Six Nations. This young lady comes to us from one of those nations, Seneca. And they have a style of dance called the smoke dance. Who's ever heard of the smoke dance? Not very many people have it. It's a very unique style of dance. They have their own competition, their own contest up there, and it's starting to catch on, so much so that now they feature this style of song and dance at the Gathering of Nations in New Mexico, one of the largest powwows in the country. But if you go up to their part of the country, they have contests just for this smoke dance. It's a very, very, very exciting style of dance. And it has different variations of origin stories. One of them says they dance so fast, smoke comes out of their moccasins. That's not really true, that's just one of the stories. They also talk about how much smoke they would gather up, the dust that would go up through their huts and up to the sky. There's so many beautiful stories about this particular style of dance. They also have other styles, but we're going to showcase the smoke dance. And this young lady right here, she's one of the best. Watch as the songs crescendo. They start off kind of fast and they go faster, and then lightning speed. There's also some trick stops in there, and she will nail every one. But between you and I'm going to try to stump her. So we'll see. It's a competition between drum and dancer. think I'll get you on this second one. You think I can get her or what? Watch this. You're good, you. Well, I got one more, and this one here, for sure is gonna stump her. This is the lightning fast, fastest smoke dance song in the world. Oh, Lord. Big round of applause for our daughter, Nadia Valderos. Good job, baby girl.
All right. Specialty dance. Probably be the only people in Oklahoma, I can guarantee you, that witnesses this style of dance probably within the past several months. How special it is and how unique it is, because we don't have a whole lot of Iroquois down here in Oklahoma. But we're going to go into two more dance styles for you we have before we conclude our presentation here. And I'm going to invite my baby girl up here, Miss Glory Gray. Let's give her a big round of applause. Glory is 10 years old. She is in the 5th grade. And she already, at her young age, is a champion dancer. Not only in women's fancy shawl, but she dances all the dance styles that the women have. She dances cloth, she dances buckskin, she dances jingle, and she has won competition in every one of those dance styles. Just to give you an idea of her personality, I told her long ago, the women used to dance the men's fancy feather, like my dance style and my son's dance style. They used to compete, and they got so good, the women at one point began to beat the men. And that was kind of before they had this new dance style. And, you know, so the men told the women, you know, you got to kind of have your own dance style where we're not happy with you guys beating us at our own dancing. And so that's kind of how this dance style started. But after I told her that story, she was like, well, Dad, I want to dance fancy dance too. And there's not a whole lot of women or young girls that even do that in today's modern times. And so I believe she was probably 8 when she started dancing men's fancy feather. And she would compete, because it's a men's category, she would go in and compete head to head with the boys. And even with those young men, those young boys, she went out there and she's won many competitions as a fancy feather dancer. So she's, when I say very accomplished, she is, and her dancing pretty much will speak for itself. And so I'm very honored and privileged to have her as my daughter. We're very excited. Every time we have her dance, you know, people always compliment on how well she dances. And so I'm just going to let her dance and speak for itself. But this dance style, it comes from this competition. Long ago, the way they determined a champion dancer was by a round of applause. Whoever had the loudest applause was the champion for that powwow, for that weekend. And so these two women dancing the cloth category, like my wife, very graceful, very slow, very dignified style of dance, had a tie. And they had the same amount of applause. They couldn't break the tie. So one of the women, being very innovative, she took the shawl she had on her arm, and they swing it with the beat of the drum, the fringe. She opened it up, placed it over her shoulders, how you see Glory have it here this evening. She asked the men to sing her a fast, up-tempo song, and they did. And she went to kick and spin, do intricate footwork that people had never never seen before, and they erupted with applause. The other woman in competition didn't want to be outdone, so she asked the men, sing me an even faster song. I'm not going to let her beat me. She took the shawl off her arm, opened it up, put it on her shoulders, and they sang her a fast song, and she began to do intricate footwork, throwing her shawl, her fringe all around, and hitting those every beat with her foot, and the crowd loved it. You know, they just erupted with applause, and they said this competition went back and forth, and to this very day, you know, we don't even know who won the tie that day, but we know that we're now blessed with a new and beautiful dance style. This is one of the most popular dance styles you'll see amongst our young girls, because you got to have speed, agility, you got to have footwork, you got to be able to control your body, but at the same time, you got to be graceful, you got to be beautiful, you got to stay in time with the drum. It's a very difficult, a lot of endurance, difficult dance style to do. You know, a lot of things that we do pay honor and tribute to things that God has given us in nature. One of the things is the butterfly. And some say that this is also commonly known as the butterfly dance because of the grace and beauty that these dancers carry themselves as they dance. And so I know you've all seen beautiful butterflies, monarch butterflies, you know, a different color one, a blue one, and go around the corner, and there's even a more beautiful one. But there's one thing I can assure you this evening is that you will witness the most beautiful butterfly you've ever seen. This is Glory Violet Gray, what's known as our women's fancy shawl. That was Glory Gray with our women's fancy shawl. She was actually just in competition about 2 hours ago, and she competed and she did well, and she was among she placed in her dance category, and she's just constantly on the go, constantly succeeding even more and more. And so we're going to bring this last and final dance style up to you. I'm going to ask my son if he would come on out here to the dance arena so that people can see him. Let's give a big round of applause. This is Paulo Gray. Paulo is dancing the men's fancy dance. He too was also in competition at Red Earth. They just had the powwow this afternoon, and so we came straight from there to here. But he too also won in his dance category as well. And so, you know, I'm very honored and blessed to have children that are talented, you know, in this particular way. But this dance style, it comes from the Wild West shows. You know, they have a lot. Leaving Frontier City is themed after the Wild West, but you know, a lot of that I think comes from Pawnee Buffalo Bill used to tour the country in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and he had these gunfighting shows that he would put on. He would also invite Native Americans, Indians, to come and share their culture, much like we are today. But back then, our dance styles were a lot simpler. You know, they were more ceremonial. We didn't have the bright, flashy colors. We didn't have the neons, the rhinestones. You know, we didn't have any of that kind of stuff. And so they asked the Indians at the time that were performing in these shows if they could come up with something that's a little bit more exciting, something that's going to bring the crowd excitement to their feet. And so again, going to God, you know, praying, asking God to answer their prayers, they went off at these shows they were at, and they began to dance and sing one evening, and they danced and they sang. Midnight came, they couldn't think of anything, so they continued to try and come up with a new dance style. All night long, they danced, sang, talked about it, tried to come up with something. Nothing came to mind. That next morning, that sun had come up over that horizon. It was early in the morning, and they still hadn't come up with anything. But as they were singing that morning, one of the horses heard them singing, and it broke loose from the crowd, a wild Mustang, and it had approached them, and he heard them singing, and he began to trot along with the beat of the drum. And every time they would stop, that horse would stop. And he would just look at him and kind of flip his mane and tail and kind of say, you guys keep singing, you're making me feel good. One of the singers noticed this. Hey, look at that horse, check him out, he's trying to dance to us. Let's see if we can get him tired. So they began to sing faster and faster, to the point where they were singing as fast as they possibly could. But no matter how fast they were able to sing, that horse was able to keep up and dance right along with them. And every time they stopped, that horse would stop right on time. When you're in competition dancing, you have to stop on time. If you overstep or you understep, that means that you got beat by the drum, you got beat by the singers, and you're disqualified. And so during this time, that horse was stopping right on time. And so they began to sing trick songs. You know, today we call them ruffle dance songs, where these songs will go really fast and they stop out of nowhere. And you got to know them by heart to be able to stop on a dime. But even on those trick songs they were singing for that horse, it stopped right on time. So they knew that was not a coincidence, but an actual answer to their prayer. So they went back to the Wild West shows, and they began to mimic the movements that that horse made, and the men's fancy dance was born. It's evolved to what you see before you today. And you know, another story that goes along with this is the early 1900s. They had a competition up at Lawrence, Kansas, at Haskell University. I believe they just had built a new stadium in the early 1920s. And they had a big powwow, invited all these tribes from all over the country. They had a big contest. They had a straight dance contest and they had a fancy dance contest. And they said, whoever wins this contest, this fancy dance contest, whoever wins it is the first world champion fancy dancer. And this dance will now belong to your people. And so the very first world champion in the 1920s was an individual, a Ponca man by the name of Gus McDonald. He was the first world champion. And so he took this dance style back to Oklahoma. White Eagle, Oklahoma, among the Ponca Nation. And now this dance style belongs to them. Every August, they host the World Championship Fancy Dance. And so if you're ever in the area, last weekend in August, Sunday night, every year, if you want to see some world-class dancing, fancy dancers from all over the country, even up into Canada, come and try to win that grand title of being a fancy dancer. And so, you know, I know everybody has seen a horse, you know, just enjoying life, running down the fence line as fast as it can, running back, you know, maybe throwing its mane and tail, bucking around a little bit. Well, imagine a horse doing that, but doing that to the singing, and that's probably what they witnessed a little over 100 years ago. And so it's evolved to what you see before you. On top, fancy dancers have a bustle. This top bustle here, we got two bustles. Top bustle represents a horse's mane. Bottom bustle represents a horse's tail. You know, just below our knees, we have these furry angoras. You know, that kind of pays honor and tribute to that wild Mustang. A long time ago, they had furry hooves, just like the Clydesdales do today. And so it's meant and intended to be the grand finale, bringing the people to their feet. And so my son and I, we're going to do our best to showcase this last and final dance style. My name is Cecil Gray, and this is Talo Gray, and this is what's known as our men's fancy dance.
How about a big round of applause for father and son? All right, we still got about 5 minutes, so we're going to have the dancers quickly go out there and pick one or two of you guys to come on up here on stage. We're going to do a quick last dance. It's a two-step. So dancers, go out there pretty quick and get yourself one or two individuals. Or you can just come on up here, volunteer. Don't be shy. Come on up here. Who wants to come on up here? Evelyn, you know you want to come on up here. Ken, where's Ken? Hey. Any volunteers? Any volunteers? Don't be scared. Hey, we got a volunteer right there. Dancers, one last time. Dancers, one last time. Please go out there and encourage them. All right, here we go. Sonny, go out there. Yeah, if you go out there, they have no other choice. Or they're going to have to pay each dancer $5,000. No, just kidding. $5. Yeah, come on up, come on up. Now, basically, it's follow the leader. So, watch husband and wife, Cecil and Holly, how they do it. And remember, everything they do, you have to do. This is pretty much a couple or a pair dance. So, male, female, it could be husband and wife, brother, sister, father, son, brother, brother, sister, sister. It's just a couple's dance. You don't have to be a couple. Just follow the leader. So, watch what Cecil and Holly do and line up behind them. So, grab someone, any gender, any denomination, any political party. We don't care. All right, here we go. This is basically a follow the leader. So whatever they do, you guys do. And also at the end of this dance, all the dancers are going to line up. So get your cameras ready if you want to come up here and take pictures. There'll be some photo op at the end. So without further ado, this is two-step time. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Thank you so very much. All right, you can take your seats again. And dancers, we're going to ask you to line up right here in front of the stage because we only have about a minute or two left. So get your cameras out, get your phones out. Let's take some pictures. And once again, we are the Central Plains Dancers, and we thank you for having us right here at the University of Oklahoma. OU! Yeah, thank you so very much. All right, you guys, we're going to have a grand finale. This is an added bonus. Yeah, my sister looked at me and said, I want to dance one more, so we're going to dance one more. Brother Cecil, what do you think? What should we do? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to showcase each one of these dance styles one more time. One continuous song, and they're going to step out, showcase their style, and then step back in line. So once again, thank you, and we are the Central Plains Dancers.
Remember the dance style, the origin, the story behind it, the tribe it represents, even the dancer's name, the tribe that they represent. Little test just to see how much you guys are able to retain. This is Nicole Papatia, women's jingle. World champion grass dancer, Bryson Sanchez. How about a big round of applause, Miss Floyd May. Thank y'all. World champion smoke dancer, Miss Nadia Valdez. Yeah, we'd like opportunity for a photo op for everybody. Even if you want to get in the picture, come on up on side of the stage and you can come line up in the middle of us and get an opportunity to take a photo with us. Remember your evening here with us. And again, we just want to thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege to share our dances with you. Again, we are the Central Plains Dancers. Thank you once again.